What does William Regal do next? For over 20 years, the vile and venomous veins of Regal have flowed through WWE. He's seen it all. He's been there for the adjustment of attitudes as aggressions became ruthless. He was there when buyouts became brand splits and through a multitude of McMahon manifested machinations. And we thought that Regal would just be there forever. His role may have changed multiple times. He went from contender to commissioner. He went from advisor to antagonist and back to advisor. He went from born naughty liar to War Games town crier. Yet he's always been there. And the idea of him not being there was very unthought of until we ended up having to think of it last week. And the release of William Regal from WWE hit like brass knuckles to the heart. Like, the idea of him not being around really sucks, but here we are. We are surveying the landscape of the potential future of Darren Matthews. It goes without saying that whichever wrestling promotion decides to pick up or work with the former Lord Steven Regal, they are inheriting a wrestling mind like no other. See, Regal's been at this since the 80s. And there's so few people that have been part of the wrestling world since then that still so intrinsically get it. So many of Regal's peers will have you arcing back to the good old days of wrestling. It's not like it is now. It's rubbish these days, etc. Darren Matthews is such an exception to that rule because he's always been laser focused on what is coming ahead. That is why he is such an important part, and rather has been such an important part of WWE's future plans, quite literally their future endeavors. With training at the Performance Center, scouting for talent on the independent circuit. We've all seen that lovely video of Regal offering Shotzi Blackheart a contract at Evolve. It was very heartwarming. And part of the process for NXT 1.0. They're deciding to go on without him, but he's always been a part of that system. So anyone that gets that mind is getting quite the wrestling mind. So let's address straight off the bat, and we can move on to other things, the all elite elephant in the room, because there'll be no doubt conversations about this already. Tony Khan is as big a wrestling fan as maybe you or I, and he's at a point now where he sees these mass WWE releases in a similar way to my Auntie Belinda sees the January sale at Marks and Spencer's. William Regal is a beautiful coat at a markdown price. For someone like Tony Khan, to get a mind like that on the books would be invaluable, you'd think. So no doubt he is considering that. Now, I've got no sources to say that he is, but come on, it's William Regal. But what does Regal do if he's part of AEW? I mean, his wrestling days are very much over, although on the wind I can faintly hear one more match chant ringing out already. But I love the idea of him managing a group of younger rapscallions, almost like a pushy dad, getting them onto the limelight and getting them into the mix in AEW. I like the idea of him being like a manager of a faction of younger talent and guiding their career. Very similar to what he was doing behind the scenes in NXT. Just put it front of camera. I've had a few people message me and say, oh, he should manage Anthony Ogogo in AEW. To that I say, Anthony, a no-no. Because the only thing that connects the two is they're British. It's not. I don't see the likeliness or the likelihood of those two meshing together in AEW. No, just because they're both British. No, don't be silly. You watch it happen now. You watch it happen now. But I love the idea of Regal being a manager type in AEW if they go down that way. Right, we've addressed Regal is all elite. Let's move on to some other more creative considerations, like the impact that he would have working for Impact, maybe. So I think about this one, right? Impact is a promotion with currently a primarily younger roster, a very hungry roster as well. And having someone like Regal on hand backstage to guide promos and offer tweaks and bits for wrestling matches, I think would be incredible for Impact Wrestling to have at this point. And it would be a huge win for Impact to have him on the books. A promotion that, not unlike Regal himself, has been around for multiple decades now and adopted and adapted what they do in order to keep up with the ever-changing wrestling world. That's both Regal and the former TNA Wrestling. I feel like they get on very well. Plus, it's a tight, light, bright schedule because we'd have Darren Matthews working 2, maybe 3 days a week, throwing himself into the role at Impact Wrestling, helping guide the talent there, and then whatever he wants to do. Watch some Mick Miller, eat some fries with Tommy and Bobby. There is Ice Tegus. They're not people. You know, it's a semi-retirement well earned for Darren Matthews. Now, how about other promotions in the US? Whether they would do some stuff alongside the former Lord Steven Regal. Maybe somewhere like GCW may bring him in for a one-off bit. You know, we're seeing guys like Scotty 2 Hotty and Jeff Jarrett getting into the mix with that promotion right now. Who's to say that Regal couldn't pop back and do a little something there? Commissioner for a night, GM for a night, something like that. Ring of Honor back on April the 1st. There's a guy that you could easily have as a mouthpiece, a manager type. One more match. Maybe as part of Ring of Honor. There's a few indie scene selections for Darren Matthews there that would be really to his discretion. What if the new life for the former William Regal, the former Lord Steven Regal, is he still called William Regal? Can he still be called William Regal? We'll call him William Regal. What if William Regal's new life maybe leads him back to his old one? By that I mean the UK. Now, there isn't any wrestling promotions on this side of the pond that are big enough to sustain having someone like Darren Matthews on the books full time. Absolutely not. Maybe a cluster of them could. I think if anybody could make a full-time living out of non-wrestling endeavors in the wrestling scene over here, it's probably William Regal, doing audiences with, wrestling seminars, guest appearances, consulting work for a bunch of the better UK promoters, and you know who you are. If a bunch of the better UK promoters would get together and have Darren Matthews on as a consultant to sort of guide their visions, wouldn't be a bad shout. Plus, of course, Darren Matthews has a son now in NXT UK, entering the E machine that he himself has just left. So maybe it's quite a nice idea to be a little closer and watch his career carry on through and be a guiding light there. There's a couple of wins to coming back to the UK. But what if his career does lead him back, but not back geographically? What if he is sent away from the WWE only to return a few months later? Now, I don't think William Regal is going back into the training and development system that he has just left. I don't think that's the case. I think that their mindset is very different now, and I don't think he factors into it. That's that. But there's no reason why WWE cannot pay homage to William Regal at this time. So I'm going to suggest this now. What if maybe 2022 is the year that we see William Regal enter the WWE Hall of Fame? I mean, it makes sense. Like, he's got a lot of the facets that they look for. He's got 20 years of modern wrestling history that certainly qualify him to enter that Hall of Fame. He's certainly well thought of amongst the industry. There's certainly people that are in the Hall of Fame that have done less than William Regal has. I feel like it would be a nice way for WWE to say thank you to William Regal for all the years of service that he has given. And it wouldn't be out of the realms of possibility. How many people, like, there's so few people rather that you can count that have been cast out from WWE and never come back. Like, Mickie James is in the Royal Rumble, and they sent all her stuff back in a bin bag, and she's in the Royal Rumble. So I don't see it out of the realms of possibility that they pick up the phone to William Regal and say, sorry we let you go, we'd like to welcome you into the Hall of Fame. William Regal has said as well that there is no ill will between him and WWE. He sees it for what it is. He's had a charmed life living on WWE, a part of WWE for 20 plus years. He's very grateful for his time there. I think this is where we see William Regal pop back and get his official, more than deserved induction into the WWE Hall of Fame. Yeah, I know, you might be thinking, weird since he's only just gone. But you know what? Like a set of concealed brass knuckles in your underpants, expect the unexpected. I would not be surprised if the kingdom that Lord Steven Regal is cast out of ends up being the one that drops the drawbridge to welcome him back, where he receives from the man that he once puckered up for. Pop the picture up there, Owen. There it is. Drink that in. That was a... Why wouldn't you put him in the Hall of Fame? To come back to receive the wrestling equivalent of a knighthood. Make that a thing. You cowards. Stay safe. Love you. Bye.